Let's talk deep sleepers at starting pitcher up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Tuesday, February 18th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and we are taking a look at starting pitcher sleepers outside the top 300 in ADP. And Chris, you are up first.
Let's start with a prospect, Quinn Matthews from the St. Louis Cardinals, who was a fourth-round pick in the 2023 draft and was generally viewed as a pretty boring, maybe rotational filler type. And then he gets to the pros, starts working on his fitness, starts doing squats, gets that lower body stronger, and all of a sudden he goes from averaging 90, 91 miles per hour with his fastball as a senior at Stanford to sitting 93, 94, up to 95 and 96 at times in his first professional season. He tore through the minors, got through 4 levels, made it to AAA, through 143 innings, was the only pitcher in the minors to throw 200 strikeouts. I think he was also the only pitcher in the minors to get 190 strikeouts and 180 strikeouts. He lapped the field here. He is one of the most pro-ready prospects out there. He did hit a little bit of a speed bump at AAA, but for the most part, he's viewed as very major league ready. He's got the workload that you very rarely see. I think 16 out of 26 starts. He went at least 6 innings last season. Quinn Matthews is a guy, as soon as there's an opportunity in St. Louis's rotation, I think he's going to take it, and I think he could be a very impactful starter. And honestly, it looks like a full rotation now. I do expect at least one trade this spring. Someone like Eric Fetty or Sonny Gray gets moved. Quinn Matthews could very easily take that spot.
You mentioned the workload that Quinn Matthews took on last season. 6+ innings in 15 of 20 starts as a minor leaguer is just stuff that you
almost unheard of at this point. Yeah.
It never happened. So it seems like he's already got that part of his pitching development ready to go for this upcoming season. A deeper sleeper for me is going to be Grant Holmes with the Atlanta Braves. In 26 games last year, 7 of those starts, a 3.56 ERA, 119 WHIP, over a strikeout per inning. He showed great control. And among pitchers with 60 innings, Grant Holmes' 16.4% swinging strike rate ranked 9th best. So did a great job getting whiffs. He has 3 main pitches, a 4-seam, a slider, and a curve. All 3 of them look like above average pitches. The slider and the curve had whiff rates over 41%. And as long as Spencer Strider is out, they have 2 spots in the rotation ready to go. And I do think Grant Holmes will occupy one of those. And if he gets off to the same start that the way he finished last season, I think that he'll just kind of remain in this Atlanta Braves rotation. So I think a lot of excitement there for someone like Grant Holmes. Chris, back over to you for another deep sleeper at starting pitcher.
Yeah, let's go with an old guy, Shane Bieber, who is coming back from Tommy John surgery. And we don't actually know how he's going to look coming back from Tommy John surgery. But the last time we saw Shane Bieber, he looked like the Shane Bieber of old. He made 2 starts at the beginning of last season before the injury, had 20 strikeouts to 1 walk in 12 innings of work. Again, I don't know what he's going to look like. We may not see him on a mound this spring, although he is throwing off a mound already. So there's a chance that he'll be ready fairly early on in the season. The Guardians have obviously had a great track record of getting the most out of their pitchers. Bieber's a big part of that. And if he looks at all like he looked at the beginning of last season when he had reworked his breaking ball, he had added a little bit of velocity, I still think there's a chance Shane Bieber could be a very impactful pitcher, and he's someone worth drafting in the later rounds of any draft, especially if you've got an IL spot, just to see what happens.
And the ADP for Shane Bieber, 376.5. Agreed, as an injury stash, make sure your league has IL spots. I think it makes sense to just take him and wait.
Give yourself a free waiver wire ad to start the season too.
Yep, I like it. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
We dig it. Do you? The Pro Volleyball Federation on CBS and streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in FBT Express. We're giving out some deep sleepers here at starting pitcher. And next up for me is going to be Ryan Weathers, who got the chance to start for the Marlins last season, and he was just good. 3.63 ERA, 118 WHIP, got a good amount of ground balls. He did unfortunately miss 3 months with a strained left index finger, but before getting hurt, his velocity was way up. He averaged nearly 96 miles per hour on the fastball. Earlier in his career was like 93, 94. So that was encouraging to see. And then the changeup was a really good pitch from him. The sweeper was insane. A 51% whiff rate. I mean, that is among the best pitches in all of baseball. So he's got 2 good secondary pitches. Velocity is up around 96 miles per hour. He's a former top 5 prospect in the Padres organization. He's still just 25 years old. And while the Marlins are going to be a bad team, wins are going to be hard to come by, it's still a really good pitching environment in that ballpark. So I think Ryan Withers could provide pretty good ratios, maybe a strikeout per inning, something like that. Again, this is someone that you could target in deeper leagues. And with that, Chris, back over to you. One more deep sleeper.
Let's stay in South Florida. We love our Marlins here, don't we, folks? They might win 52 games, but hey, maybe 20 each will come from Ryan Withers and Max Meyer, who was a pretty big disappointment last season. And look, I think part of it was just the way the Marlins handled him. Remember, he came up at the start of last season, his return from Tommy John surgery, I believe. Yeah, he hadn't pitched in 2023. Makes 3 starts, looked dominant, 2.12 ERA in those 3 starts, then gets sent back to AAA to manage his workload. They wanted him to work on a sinker that never really came around. And he just really struggled when he was back. The fastball velocity wasn't where it was the year before. The slider, not nearly as effective as it was before the injury. But this offseason, he's working on getting the velocity back and adding a couple of pitches. He's mostly been fastball, slider. He's adding a sweeper and a sinker. He's working on his changeup as well. So he wants to really have a well-rounded arsenal. I think there's a chance that the sweeper could be, help him get back to the slider that he had pre-injury. The sweeper can be more of a swing and miss pitch. He's working on getting more downward movement on the slider. That could be something that neutralizes the platoon advantage that lefties would have on him. So this is definitely one that's a long shot, but I've been interested in Max Meyer before, and I want to see what he looks like this spring to see if these new pitches can help him unlock another level.
All right. And then the last name for me is going to be David Festa with the Minnesota Twins. Not exactly sure that he has a rotation spot to start the season, but this is one where you draft skills, not role. And let's see how it plays out, because the surface level numbers, they don't look great for David Festa last year, but it was a 376 FIP, a 358 Sierra. It was nearly 11K per 9, a 12.8% swinging strike rate. The changeup for David Festa is absolutely filthy, and he has one of these new age fastballs, 87th percentile extension, good IVB, good spin rate on that pitch as well. So he has the makings already, the fastball and the changeup. Obviously, we hope the slider continues to develop, but the Twins have a type. They have these big-bodied pitchers that get really good extension, and it looks like David Festa might be the next version of that in the Minnesota Twins rotation. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.